Hello and welcome into another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast. We have a slightly packed show for you, and admittedly, it's going to be a little bit shorter show for you this week, but we are going to be reviewing the new Netflix film, Pieces of a Woman, starring Vanessa Kirby and Shia LaBeouf. We will have actually lots of Marvel MCU news for you. We're going to talk about the brand new show, WandaVision, and we will get into that and much, much more on this episode of Popcorns for Breakfast. So let's get to it. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast. I'm going to let that play for a little bit underneath us. You like that, Kirk?
I love it. I think it's great.
Are you feeling it? You notice that it's a little bit more funkadelic this week?
It is funkadelic.
You notice that? That is because our good friends at Rhetoric hooked us up with a new mix of our beautiful theme song. This music actually comes from a song on their album called Finally Stopped Thinking of You. It's a great song. Actually, the whole album is a beautiful, beautiful thing. You can catch those guys on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever. I know you guys listen to music all over the place, but check it out. They got great stuff like this. They've got a really great vibe. It's like electro funk. I don't know. It's just great. I love it. I love the vibe of it.
If you're going to let that play under, I'm just going to be rocking out the whole time. And so
yeah.
Hope that's
well, in that case, I'll
distracting.
fade it out.
Okay. And then I'll just play.
Just kidding. But yeah, anyway, that music's courtesy of Rhetoric. So we're going to be featuring some new music from our friends at Rhetoric throughout the episode, really just now and at the end. And then we'll mix in some of their new tracks as we kind of go forward on this show. So we're still kind of finding a way to get that stuff added, but we're excited about our new mix of our theme song, so we had to get it popped in there. So we already started chatting, but let me introduce you to my co-host, Kirk.
Hello, hello.
I am your other co-host, Cam. I have to admit, I have a bit of egg on my face this week, Kirk, because this week's episode was meant to come out last week. And the reason that it did not is simple and painful. And that is because after 40 plus minutes of recording.
Yes. 47 maybe.
I casually looked down to see how long we'd been chatting and realized that I had not hit the record button. And as I do that, I'm actually looking down right now and I have hit it. We are recording. So this will go live.
Because that's my new job, is to help remember to remind you to check the gate, if you will.
Which shouldn't even really be necessary. Can we be honest about that? Like, that should be pretty obvious. When you're going, it's like when you get in your car, you check your mirrors, make sure your lights are all right, good to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to hit the record button. That's going to haunt me for a long time.
Do you check your mirrors every time you get in your car? Or was that a nice analogy?
Yeah, it was just a nice. Come on, Kurt. Who does that? Who checks their mirrors every time? That's
I never do.
What did they say in driver's ed? Don't they say something like you should be checking your mirrors while you're driving, like every 10 seconds or something like that?
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's absurd. I feel more likely to crash.
Why are your mirrors moving that often? However, I will say that I've been
your mirrors are just gyroscopic.
I've been mid-drive, it's like a 20-minute, location, destination I'm trying to get to. And I glance to my right, and that thing is facing the sky. And man, it is alarming when it happens.
Yeah, you're like,
So maybe there's something to it, but I'm not gonna take the time. Yeah,
but regardless, last week should not have happened the way it did. And so now, you know what? I'll just say this too. That episode was going to be a bop. It was fire. We were having great conversation. We were locked in. There was good energy flowing around. I was like, man, this is going to be so lit.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to swallow my microphone. I was just like, kill me. Please kill me.
If ever we have an episode that's going and it just seems like it's bombing, we can just say, man, this is just not as good as the lost episode.
Yeah, right.
You
exactly.
guys don't know. what you missed.
I know. I'm tempted to be like, I can't remember what episode number this is, like 56 or something like that.
Yep.
I'm really tempted to call it 57.
Yes.
And then like as people become new to the podcast, like if they go back and look, they'd be like, wait, what? 55, 56. Where's the, and then it's just, we never speak of it. You know, and when people ask, we act like they're insane. Like, yeah, of course there's an episode 50. What are you talking about?
It's
all this
there.
Great. It's the best episode ever. I don't know how you don't see it. It's so good.
Yeah.
So that's an option.
Exclusive content.
Yeah, either that or it'll just drive people to mania and they'll be like, I'm not listening to this crap. This is stupid.
They can't do math.
That's the other way it could go. But anyway, so last week we had the lost episode. I was heartbroken, but you know, it happens in showbiz. We actually, our very first episode, I think we told that story on this one. We got all primed and ready to go. Ryan set us up. He's like, here's how you do it. Here's how you control it. You're ready. We record. I mean, that first episode must have been 2 hours long, at least.
Yes.
Or close to it. And we get to the end and realize none of it was recorded.
Yes. And we were so focused on making it happen that we spent another 2 hours in the studio and basically rehashed the exact same conversations that we had.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah. It was so bizarre.
I like that we've matured enough to realize like, no, we're not going to.
We were both just like, when that happened last week, we both just kind of looked at each other and like, yeah, so I'm going to go to bed. That's exactly how it went down. And it was just, you know what? It's fine. It's fine.
That's right, because it's not authentic then. And the other issue that this plagues us with, which, by the way, I have no hard feelings about this whatsoever.
You're a bigger man than me.
Dude, listen. I mean, I love you, but I don't know what would have happened if I missed record. So.
I would not have a computer screen anymore.
I think, you know, like the MCU, the What If series coming out, like roles reversed, I would probably be crying for the next 10 episodes. Like my hair would be all pulled out like, oh man, I screwed this one up.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So
that's awesome. Well, this one is recording, and barring some sort of cataclysmic world-ending event, it will hit the airwaves tomorrow, which will be Tuesday, January 19th, right? So that's when you guys are listening to this right now, hopefully, or perhaps later. But we're going to have a little bit of different episode today. No schoolyard pick. We're going to try to keep it short. But good news, really good news, actually, hopefully. We've made the decision to go back to weekly episodes. We've made the decision. We're gonna take the leap. Actually, I have an applause sound effect. Wait, let me cue that guy up. Sorry, this will only take an hour.
Don't steal my job. I can clap.
Yay, weekly episodes. Yay, weekly episodes.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, that's just something like we're just going to will it into existence, because the reason that we went to bi-weekly was like there wasn't enough content. Well, guess what, Kirk? We will just make it happen.
We'll make our own movies.
Ooh,
Speaking
I like
of,
that.
Speaking of,
yes.
I thought of a wonderful baseline of a movie. I have no idea what it's going to be about, but I thought of an incredible title. My kids love to pause movies and shows and find freeze frames that are hilarious. And it brings them such joy. And so while I was in the car the other morning taking my son to school, I said it out loud. I said, oh, yeah, because you love funny places to pause.
Yes.
That's the title. That's the title of the movie.
That's the title of the movie. Okay.
Funny places to pause. I have no idea what's going to happen in it, but man, it could be a comedy. It could be a rom-com. It could be a sadder drama than Manchester by the Sea, but Funny Places to Pause will be one of our pieces that we create. I think that and the Crisis Papers.
So, okay, let me back up.
Yes.
We've essentially just got a working title then, right?
Yes.
We've got no plot. We've got no genre
defined.
Yeah, I think we're off to a good start, to be honest. I think this is a winning idea. I think we could pitch it at Netflix tomorrow. And it would be live in 2022. I really do believe that.
I am making a running list of our movie ideas as we speak.
Please do. Please do.
Pencil.
We'd hate for them to, get lost out in the ether.
Yes,
That
we
would be
don't. We
bad.
want them to be recorded somehow. I don't think they're being recorded via audio, so I just want to put it on digital paper. I think that's the best plan.
Hey, speaking of Netflix and pitching movies to Netflix, let me just say this. Did you check out this new Anthony Mackie movie, Outside the Wire?
Oh, I did. I did watch
Oh,
it.
you did? You did?
Well, yes. So I had a bunch of work to do the other night, maybe even last night. And what is time? And I put it on in the background because I figured this is an action movie. I could watch this in the background, and I did. Did you watch it?
I did. I watched it. I'm surprised to hear that you watched it. So let's mini review this real quick.
Yeah.
Just real quick. Did you like it or did you not like it? Or were you somewhere else?
I hated it.
Yeah, it was awful, right? It was quite terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
let me interrupt you. Hold on.
Yeah, what I'm trying to get at is this. I honestly feel like we could pitch a movie to Netflix because these action movies that they churn out these days, like the Six Underground, Outside the Wire brand of action film that Netflix churns out, they're just awful. But I think what's truly masterful about them is that they are just actiony enough to make you stick around till the end. But then you get to the end and you're like, yeah, I hated that.
Yes.
Is that a similar experience to what you had?
Exactly the same. You have a big star, Anthony Mackie, who hasn't had that many opportunities to be the leading man. He's front and center in this. And then you get this convoluted plot that just comes out of nowhere.
Literally, I don't think it's an overstatement to say 95% of the dialogue is centered around trying to make the plot make sense.
Yes.
They're like, well, why would Koval do this? Well, he's trying to get the codes. This is the actual dialogue of the movie. That's all of the dialogue. It's like all of that.
If you open up a movie and you are perplexed by the ease of military conversation, that's a red flag.
That is a red flag. That is a red flag.
I need to pull it up, but oh no, we got a bomb going off here, guys. Send in the troops. 30-30, 30-30.
Yeah. You're like, no, I don't think that's legitimate. Yeah, and just them making sure you get it. I felt like my intelligence was insulted by this film because at one point, so the main plot of the movie is this guy who's a drone pilot goes rogue and fires, blasts something based on his gut instinct, but it goes against orders to do so. So his punishment is he gets sent out into the field. And so at one point they're driving along and he's like, I know these streets like a taxi driver. And the other guy's like, or like a drone pilot. And I'm like, yeah, we got that.
we remember.
We remember that he's a drone pilot and we know that that's why he knows the streets well. You don't have to tell us that. It's really it was things like that I'm like, wow, they think we're really dumb. They think we're really stupid. Okay.
Also, they make that main character, whatever his name is, who's not Anthony Mackie, Harp. They make him seem like such a callous person because he's let's just spoil it because no one cares.
Yeah, let's spoil it. Let's go.
He drops a bomb as a drone pilot on a bunch of bad guys. He ends up killing two Americans to save 38. And so throughout, they're like, you got to have a heart. You got to understand the human collateral. Meanwhile, he fronts himself trying to understand the human condition, but he's in love and has a fiance. That doesn't make sense. That's extreme dissonance. If you are so cold where you can't understand the value of human life, but you I'm getting married next week in Palm Springs. He doesn't sound like that at all, by the way.
No, he definitely does not. He definitely does not. But go on. Point came across still.
Right. I'm getting married next month in Palm Springs. But I don't understand why it's not okay to bomb 2 people to save 38. And they say it 6 times. It's rough. It's so rough.
Yeah, so there's that. And then what is probably the most perplexing thing comes at the end when it is revealed that Anthony Mackie, the robot cyborg super soldier's objective is to nuke America, killing millions of people. And that, what the effect that is supposed to have on you is you're supposed to be left with a thought of like, maybe America's the bad guy. Like, that's the point of the movie. And I'm like, that is a weird route to go.
Yes.
To be honest, for a movie marketed towards Americans.
Right.
And I know that these are cynical times, but I'm like, and sure, people have had that thought undoubtedly, but I'm just like, that's the lingering message you want here? That's what you want to hit home?
Right. And the bad guys are Russian, by the way. Speaking of turbulent times, they are Russian. Anthony Mackie goes rogue and joins the Russians.
Joins the Russians to nuke the United States. That's what he wants to do at the end.
As his exposed cybernetic body is like melting as he's dying, still tries to convince Harp, like, choose me. He's also from the South. Choose me. Be with me, Harp. We can rule the world. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird.
Also, how about them being like, what's this gun? Well, it's got incendiary rounds. It can shoot through an armored truck. I'm like, I wonder how that's going to come back when he's fighting the cyborg who's made of metal.
Breadcrumbs.
Gosh, dang, man. It's just like, I was just like, less talking, more punching and shooting, please. Yes. For the love of God, please stop talking. In fact, if this whole movie had no audible dialogue, this would be at least 3 points better than it is right now.
Yeah, should have
went real talk.
Ryan Gosling drive route, like minimal talking.
Oh man, I know.
Yeah,
it's amazing what that can do for movies. Sometimes they just talk their way right out of a good movie. Not that this would have necessarily been good, but man, I'll tell you.
The last thing on this, and then we should probably get into what's poppin'. But
yeah,
I also loved that 3 times at the beginning of the movie they kept saying "Beyond the Wire," like
Beyond the Wire,
avoiding saying the title "Outside the Wire."
Yeah,
like, and you're like, oh, they almost said it, and then finally, as they were exiting the safety fence, they said, "We're going outside the wire."
Yeah, and that's like it's ridiculous because like. The actual meaning of outside the wire, I assume, is like a double entendre because he's like a robotic super soldier thing. But the actual meaning of it has very little relevance to the plot of the movie. They're like, we're going outside the wire like one time, and then that's it.
Yep.
I'm like, cool. Like, why? I get that he's a robot, so you wanted to get wire in there. You guys are real sharp. I see what you're doing here, but like, come on, guys. I don't know. And it'll probably be watched by 65 million households. I mean, yours and mine already watched it, so there you go.
That's right. It was number 1 on Netflix this weekend. So.
Oh Lord.
We'll see if it holds its spot.
I know. It's wow. Well, yeah. So now that you know what happens in that movie, feel free to check it out. It's good for a laugh. And I watched the whole thing. So to their credit, they made a movie that made me stick around to the end. So. I don't know if that says something good about Netflix or something terrible about me. It's really hard to know at this point, but here we are.
It's still number 1 right now.
Yes. So more people are soaking it in. This is good. Maybe it's like we just keep talking about it. Maybe it's like some sort of covert ops, like subliminal messages to turn people against the United States. Maybe the Russians created this movie.
That's right.
And they were like, who's somebody that the Americans trust? Well, the newly minted Captain America, of course. Dude, I think I just figured it out.
Manchurian Candidate.
Yes, dude. I think we just figured it. We cracked the code.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
just waiting for the
episode. We have just reviewed Outside the Wire on Netflix.
I'm just waiting for the red laser to come on my head because the Russians are on to me. Okay. Whew. Wow. Well, I did not expect to go down that rabbit hole, but here we are. Okay. We better get into some news. Shall we? Let's get into what's poppin'. Okay, everything's popped. We're all popped up.
Pop it up.
All right, where to begin? So we've got some Marvel news, as I teased at the front. So let's dive into that. We've got every tier of Marvel news here. We've got Marvel news that's like, whoa. We've got Marvel news that's like, and we've got Marvel news that's like, I'll do them in that order. Or maybe I should start with the meh one first. Should I start with the meh and then build?
Yeah, let's just build it. We're going to add some layers here.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, I like this. We're just kind of planning as we go.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is that, we've got this Moon Knight series that's coming out, starring Oscar Isaac. Very exciting. The villain has been cast, or reportedly been cast, and it looks like it's going to be Mr. Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke is a Marvel villain, Kirk. What's your reaction to this?
This is the first time I think I've really been excited about an Ethan Hawke movie since Training Day.
Youch.
That's a lot of years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of years. Ethan Hawke starred in this movie called Hamlet 2000 a long time ago, where he played Hamlet, but it was like this really weird. They were basically trying to be Romeo and Juliet, Baz Luhrmann, but like in a weird, I don't know, Wall Street kind of way. And
like Godzilla 2000.
Yeah.
Lots of movies with 2000 in the title around that time. People were weird about Y2K. I don't know. Very bizarre. Anyway.
Yes. It was a very real moment in history. I remember vividly sitting on my parents' bed and saying, like, that's it. Like, after everything, like,
this is the end.
Good night. Like,
yep. Nothing happened.
But I'm excited for him to be a villain because I feel like that's more suited for him because he always tries to play like the White Knight or the love interest in all of the Before Sunset, Before Sunrise films. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is how I want to see Ethan Hawke as a villain. I'm excited.
That's interesting because I feel like I have exactly opposite opinions of you on this. So like, I am a fan of Mr. Hawke's work. I'm a fan of him. I don't know. I know you're not a Boyhood fan, but like there are, right? You're not a Boyhood fan. Is that right?
I'm not.
Which is just, we're not going to get into that today. I think we've adequately dived into that before. But, I am a fan of Mr. Hawke's work. I think Boyhood was good. I like Training Day as well. Though admittedly, I'm not as high on Training Day as some others. Reality Bites, he's got some good moments. And my first reaction was, wow, that seems odd to cast him as a villain, but I can kind of see it. So it'll be interesting. I think that's well within his range. He certainly picked some bad projects along the line, but I do still think he's a good actor and should be an interesting addition to the MCU, especially in the capacity of villain, because I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on as the MCU goes forward, is how they do their villains, because that was one of the only things they were criticized for in the first 3 phases was not having good villains, sort of like movie after movie. I mean, they had Thanos, and everybody seemed to pretty much like the Michael Keaton Vulture. How could you not? And everybody seemed to like Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger. And I think that's sort of the end of the list as far as like villains that people universally beloved in the series.
I think Kurt Russell did a good job, but
true. Yeah, Ego.
He would be under them as far as the writing goes for the character. Yeah.
Yeah, so it should be interesting. I think that's interesting. So that's why it falls into that category. The whoa Marvel news is that Chris Evans is coming back in some sort of capacity as Steve Rogers. So let's be honest. Chris Evans then tweeted out like a really cryptic tweet where he was like, news to me, shrugging emoji, but like they like Deadline and Variety and sources like that do not get this wrong. It just doesn't happen. So he can play games all he wants, but we all know that something is happening. He just was probably upset that the cat was out of the bag. But all we know is that Steve Rogers is reappearing in some sort of vague capacity that's believed to be smaller than a major role. So I've got 2 questions on this, Kirk. One, do you think we're getting Captain America Chris Evans in some sort of like alternate reality, whatever, or do you think we're getting some other version of Steve Rogers? And 2, do you think that I forgot. I lost my train of thought. Answer the first question.
That's okay, because the first question is a two-parter. So
It is a two-parter, but I do have another one. I just need to think of it.
if you never remember the other one, you can just push that into the second slot.
I'll just edit this out.
I would say that I do believe we get Chris Evans as Captain America. I feel like we're going to get him in his parallel life, living with Peggy, knowing that he once was Captain America, but like fully immersed in it, right? So that whoever like comes and visits him, however, will have to like remind him, and he'll be like, oh, that's a life long ago, but then maybe he'll like beat a couple people up real quick in a quick scene, and it'll be really like flashy and fun. I feel like it'll be something like that, and hopefully we can see him creep into the Marvel TV shows on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Okay. So I remembered my second part of that question, and
Okay.
maybe it's possible that you just answered it, but are you like, what capacity do you want to see Chris Evans back in the MCU? Like, what Steve Rogers would you want to see? Is it the version that you just described, like alternate universe Chris Evans, like living with Peggy and like not Captain America, or like what are you kind of like? How would you want him to get mixed back in?
I would say that one, because we've had his full story, and I honestly don't see, even though that role really did a couple things for Chris Evans, it really brought him to A-lister status, and
Yeah.
B, it actually helped his acting, because we know that he was in some clunkers before, and I've seen him in films outside the MCU where he does not act like Captain America. He's acting like the character that it calls for. So I could, even still, I don't see him wanting to put the shield back on and go another 3 films. So I think it's going to be like a glimpse of something in like a 15-minute max scene.
Yeah. I could see, so I think that's all good takes. Like, I think the line has been drawn that, Sam Wilson is the new Captain America. I don't know exactly what that will look like in terms of costume. Is he going to hold the same shield that Cap held? I don't know. I really don't know. Or is he going to continue to be the Falcon for a little while? It's hard to tell. I mean, this show that's coming out is called Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So, there will be some transition period there. Mm-hmm. But I think that the Steve Rogers we get will not be Captain America Steve Rogers. I think it will be him in some other capacity. In the comics, Steve Rogers, after like kind of being done with Captain America, turns into a character called Nomad, which actually, like, lots of different heroes are Nomad at different times. Like, I think even Hawkeye, like Clint Barton, is Nomad for a period of time, perhaps. I'm not ultra familiar with the character, but I think that could possibly be a way they go. Only it's hard to know with the way that the Steve Rogers timeline ended in Endgame, with it ending that way. There's almost like not much room for that period of his life. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, but who knows? And I saw some people sort of like fantasizing, multiple people on Twitter fantasizing that we get like a 6-part television series where it's Captain America returning all of the Infinity Stones back to where they belong in the timeline, but that's not happening. So it was irresponsible to even state that, but people are talking about it.
That would be cool. We kind of got a glimpse. I forgot about the whole Nomad storyline. We kind of got a glimpse or like a tease to it as he is emerging from the shadows in Infinity War. He went off and was into hiding after the end of the Civil War events.
Yeah.
And that kind of looked like that was the MCU film version of Nomad. Like, what's he been doing?
Right.
That might be all of Nomad, but I would totally be down for a Nomad storyline. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. It should be interesting. It should be interesting, no doubt. I mean, I think I'm happy that Chris Evans is returning to the MCU in whatever capacity that it is, because he's done great things for that franchise, and like, I don't really care what whatever that is, and I think I'll be happy with just about any way they go with it. So
yes,
all around good news there. Okay, and then the last one that's like, is that Matt Damon has been cast in Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor 4 has. So a couple of notes here, just to kind of like a launching pad, and then we can kind of go from there. One, Captain Matt Damon appeared in Thor Ragnarok in a hilarious cameo where he was like the stage actor of Loki in this like hilarious over-the-top dramatic play that Loki, who was masquerading as Odin, had put on to tell the story of Loki. And it was like him and Sam Neill, and then
the other Hemsworth brother.
The other Hemsworth. Yeah, it wasn't Liam. What's the other Hemsworth name? I can't remember his name.
Like Derek. Oh no.
Something like that. He was in there. Anyway, he was in there. So that was like a really funny moment. So is it just that, or is it something more? I think something that's worth noting is like this is pretty late into the casting game for Thor: Love and Thunder. Like we already know Natalie Portman's in there. We already know obviously Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, all the Guardians of the Galaxy are in there. And then we know Christian Bale. So the fact that this is coming late makes me feel like maybe it is another cameo and this is just like for fun, but maybe it's something bigger. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. First of all, I just looked it up. His name is Luke Hemsworth.
Luke Hemsworth. Sorry, Luke.
And I would rather it. I mean, they could play the joke again. They could make it happen because it's Taika Waititi coming in on this fourth Thor. But I would really love it if it were something bigger. Maybe he was so inspired by Thor saving everyone because he's like this traveling thespian in this community theater. Maybe they form their own like alliance militia and they want to join the Revengers, you know. So I just want to see Matt Damon in the MCU like killing some aliens. Like that's what I want. Or recast him as a new character because I love that guy so much.
Yeah, I think it would be, again, this is another thing. It's like, it won't be bad. Like, it will be good. Even if it's just another cameo and they, like, rerun that joke, it would get a bigger laugh out of me this time, I think, for sure. I'm interested to see where they go with it. I think something worth noting, like, that Loki show comes out this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I anticipate that there are lots of Hiddlestands out there. I anticipate that show will be wildly popular due to the Hiddlestands. And so I feel like with this movie coming out after that, we will know the fate of Loki, sort of. And he almost certainly makes an appearance in this movie, too. So maybe they do run back that joke. I don't really know, but it should be interesting.
Yes.
Cool. Last bit of MCU news is not really news, but just that WandaVision is out. First 2 episodes are on Disney Plus right now. And if you haven't seen it yet on our social, we actually spun up our new web series, which is called Spilled Popcorn. And is that a W? What are you making?
So like I was trying to come up with like a WandaVision, like, I don't know, gang sign. I don't know. Like,
wow.
So if we go W to V for all of you listening only. Here we go.
Yeah, this will be good radio. W. Okay. It's not the worst. It needs work. I feel like Santa Claus and
you see it snap. So you put like you're doing like a bird, you know, like the Napoleon Dynamite bird flying away.
Napoleon Dynamite bird. Okay.
Just don't make it fly, and then snap your hands outward into a V, like you would normally put a V. Boom. WandaVision. That's it. That's the symbol right there.
Wow. Well, that needs work, but I think your heart's in the right place, and that's what's really important, Kirk. Thank you. Anywho, we spun up a new web series called Spilled Popcorn. It's on YouTube. You can go to our YouTube channel, Popcorn for Breakfast, and check it out there, where basically on this series, we are going to be doing deep dives, and we're going to be talking spoilers, and this is for people who have watched the show to go in and get some more information, to get our insight into what we think is going on, to get wild speculation, which Kirk and I love to do. It's a lot of fun. We're going to be doing this for WandaVision to start with. I think we will do all the MCU shows, and then we'll just kind of use it along the way to deep dive into different movies, different TV shows, kind of whatever pops up. So like, for example, good example. This year, The Queen's Gambit came out, and it like went from nothing to the biggest thing on the block. Like, we would probably pick something up like that and do our series on it, and then move on. So that's the kind of stuff you can expect there, and that is live on YouTube as of Monday morning. So go check it out, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're there. But let's chat WandaVision just real quick, briefly, and then you guys, if you want more info, you can get it on our YouTube channel via that video. But I think, in general, Kirk, kind of what are you thinking of the show so far? And just general thoughts.
Big fan. Big fan. I'm liking what they're doing. They didn't open up with random military jargon. They didn't say the title of the film of the show 7 times over. And there's no weird cybernetic organism that doesn't make sense. That is what Vision is. But yeah. So much better already than Outside the Wire, and as we can all expect, it's fantastic. Elizabeth Olsen, the other Olsen sister, she's a dream. She's a dream come true. And Paul Bettany gets to float his wings all over. He can be more than just a robot. Like, It's so playful, and they let them play throughout. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really excited to see where they go. Because as we kind of discussed on that episode of Spilled Popcorn, like, they are dipping their toes into some pretty interesting things in terms of what happens in the comics, but they have yet to reveal their hand. So they're kind of slow burning us right now. They're lulling us to sleep with some, they're giving us little hints here and there, but they have yet to really reveal the master plan. So those episodes are available, of WandaVision, that is, every Friday for the next 7 weeks. So we'll be closely watching along to see what happens there, but it should be interesting. All right. Next bit of news, we're going to transition out of Marvel land. We're going to talk about Netflix, who last week released a juicy, white-hot sizzle reel that was teasing this promise that they made towards the end of 2020 that they are going to release a new movie every week of 2021. And this sizzle reel included some big movies, including The Harder They Fall, which has Denzel Washington, Idris Elba, Lakeith Stanfield, Regina King, just massive cast. Red Notice, which stars Gal Gadot, Ryan Reynolds, Mr. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut, Tick, Tick, Boom, which is a musical. Just like tons of huge movies. The Woman in the Window, starring Amy Adams.
Yes.
The new Adam McKay movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence called Don't Look Up. Like, huge movies. And they're already backing it up with their slate so far. So, Kirk, what'd you think of the sizzle reel?
I thought it was fantastic. It kind of blows my mind that we're getting a new movie every single week from Netflix in 2021.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, that is the silver lining of COVID-19. Like, that really is. Like, thank you, Netflix, for knowing exactly what everyone needs while they're still recovering from the awful, and still living through the awfulness that it is. So there is some irony in some of these films that are coming out, because there are some pretty big Hollywood people who were always against streaming from the get-go. Talking about my boy Leo, who I love so much. He was one of the people advocating, like, no, like, these movies belong in theaters. Like, what are you talking about? And then here's his movie with, Adam McKay, also one of them, slamming right into streaming. So
right,
it's kind of hard to see it really is kind of hard to fathom a Leo movie coming straight to streaming. So I don't know how ticked he is about that, but I'm excited that it's coming straight into my living room. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's interesting. Another one that I failed to mention was Chris Hemsworth in Escape from Spiderhead, which already wins the award for best movie title ever, because it has the word Spiderhead in it, which is awesome. But yeah, I mean, I'm equally excited about this. Are there any movies that you either knew about or didn't know about heading into this that you are like stoked about now?
I think I was surprised by most of them, actually.
Were you? Yeah.
Yeah, I was really. I've seen the. I still forget what the title is for Leo, and you just said it. You
Oh,
just said
don't
it.
look up. Don't look
Don't
up.
look up. I knew that him and J Law were in a movie together, but I could not remember the name of it. I've seen the production photos for it like 6,000 times, but then I saw it. They throw it at the end of that sizzle reel, and I'm like, what? Like that came as a surprise to me. It really did. I feel like Leo was the last holdout, and then they were probably like, okay, listen,
Yeah.
this is what we do.
Well, and
So
that cast is really hard to ignore. I mean, it is a tantalizing cast. We talked about it on this show before, but like just names out the wazoo. I don't have them all off the top of my head, but I mean, just like they have one of those cast lists that it has like 30 people on it that and that are very good. So it's just that one should be interesting. I think for me, I mean, Lin-Manuel, Tick Tick Boom, a musical directed by Lin-Manuel, created by Lin-Manuel, starring Andrew Garfield. I mean, come on. That's like who's got a hold of my dream journal? Come on now. And then the other one, this is one I did not know about prior to the sizzle reel, and I don't think many people did because all of the news outlets like Entertainment Weekly and Deadline were like, first look at The Harder They Fall, and it was from that sizzle reel. That was a movie I did not see coming. And that cast, dude, just stacked. Like I said, Denzel Washington, Regina King. It's a Western. I mean,
isn't Rami Malek in it as well?
I don't know. Is he?
I don't know.
No, he's in the other Denzel movie.
Oh.
The Little Things.
Okay, fine.
Right?
Yeah.
The Little Things with Rami Malek and who's the other guy? I don't know. Somebody else big.
There's so much content. The fact that some of this was still like in the wings before COVID and being, in post-production and editing and then stuff that was recorded through 2020, like near the tail end or halfway through, like my mind is blown. Like,
yeah, Netflix just comes in pouring all these movies into the hopper, and they just get their paintball gun of movies, and they're like, "How you like these apples?" And it's just like my head's exploding, and there's all these movies. It's just it's wild.
We're not going to sleep. We're actually going to come up with a daily episode, everyone. A daily episode.
Oh
of Popcorn
gosh, dude, there are podcasts who do that, and I'm like, let me tell you, there are a few things on this planet that I love doing more than podcasting. I thoroughly enjoy it, but daily, I would die.
I'm about to fall asleep right now. I'm so tired.
Right,
but not because of the content of this podcast, but because I'm genuinely
exhausted. Sure, Kirk, whatever. Speaking of content and streaming wars and all things of that nature, and this one is just hilarious. I laugh out loud whenever I read this headline. Apple TV Plus has once again stretched out their free subscription threshold. So get this, Kirk.
Yes.
If you were like me and you got a new iPhone in November of 2019, you will have Apple TV Plus for free until at least July 1st, 2021. That is over a year and a half of free content from Apple. That is nuts.
Big deal. Free Apple TV Plus content. Right? I got this bad boy, this iPad Gen 7 on my birthday of December 19th. So December 14th of 2019. I'm in the same boat as you. I will get that extension. It's hilarious. The only thing I'm excited about is that we get Cherry with Tom Holland for free.
Right. That's the big win here. That really is. That's the big win.
Yep.
And hopefully maybe like Ted Lasso season 2 sneaks in there. I don't know. You know what? At this point, Apple, just give us a free 2 years or just free for life. I don't know. Whatever.
Free for life. If you signed up in 2019, you're golden. You're grandfathered in because you believed in us. Kind of.
Yeah. Kind of. Except for not really, because we gave it to you for free and kind of against your will. We were just like, here's this thing. And you're like, okay, I guess I'll use this once or twice over the next year and a half.
It's kind of like when Apple had that deal with U2 and everyone got the U2 album on their phone. Like,
yeah, you're like, what is this crap?
And then you couldn't delete it.
I know, it was unkillable. Yeah. What's up with that?
Oh, God.
They're just forcing it on us. I don't know. But yeah, we'll get Cherry, which is awesome. That comes out, what is that, March? Is that March, Kirk?
I think it's late February. I think.
Oh, is it late Feb?
I think the previous cutoff was like literally like 6 days.
Oh, no. Here's what it is. It's in theaters late February.
Okay.
But it's on Apple TV Plus like March 12th or something like that.
Okay. Either way.
If I remember. But yes.
I'm down.
Because we were just discussing this last week. We were like,
yeah, we were.
This was a legit conversation. We were like, man, I really would have watched Cherry, but I really hate Apple TV Plus. It's really bad. Can I stomach paying $5 for an extra month just to watch Cherry? And I was like, yeah, probably, right? Like you would rent a movie for $5 or $6. Yeah. Like that's not a big deal. So it's effectively that.
Spend $5 or drive like 300 miles to a select theater that is actually playing in.
Yeah, drive over to Missouri for us and go check that out. So anyway, whether you like it or not, you might have Apple TV Plus. I was actually just talking to my parents today, and I was like, hey, guys, your Apple TV Plus got extended. And they're like, oh, really? Who cares? I was like, yeah, no one cares. Okay, last bit of news. And this is just because we touched on it last week, but the Oscar frontrunner right now for Best Picture is Nomadland, which has been just Hoover vacuuming up awards everywhere it goes, like a giant Hoover vacuum, like I said.
That was
good.
More. Was that
good
the right way?
Yeah, like that.
That
sounds like somebody sucking it up with straw.
You did it, not me. I don't know what.
Anyway, we've been kind of waiting to see what's going to happen here because they've all been saying like it's going on VOD February 19th. And actually, we're getting it on Hulu. So if you are a Hulu subscriber, you will have access at no additional cost to the current Best Picture frontrunner. Sorry, I had a hiccup there. But yes, pretty exciting. What'd you say, Kirk?
I'm dancing in the background for those viewing only on YouTube, and I'm very excited.
I know you're a massive Frances McDormand fan, so that should be good for you. You'll be chomping at the bit for that.
Yes, she is who I model my life after, and
don't we all? I mean, I think that's a good choice. Actually, I'm not even going to pretend that I have any ill thoughts towards Frances McDormand because I think she is just a peach, and I love her. And
I think ill thoughts of her every week.
You're like that guy. Have you ever seen that clip? Jimmy Kimmel mean tweets where the guy's like, "Have a good weekend, everybody, except you, Lisa Kudrow. F you."
That's right.
You're that to Frances McDormand. You're that guy.
Man. I don't know why. She's just not my cup of tea. Maybe she'll grow on me. Maybe she'll actually do a different character in this movie, and I like her. But I'm super glad I don't have to pay a dime for it. I don't have to pay a dime for it. So
you won't have to pay a dime. So and by all accounts, it looks like it's the leader in the clubhouse for Best Picture, which we'll be making the rounds on our Best Picture noms. So it'll be good to get that one knocked out early before the awards later in April, I believe. Okay. That's all we got for What's Poppin'. Let's pop it up one last time. All right. And let's move into our movie review, which this week is a Netflix original film called Pieces of a Woman, starring Vanessa Kirby and one of our faves of all time, Mr. Shia LaBeouf. He's going through some rough times right now, but we'll stand with him. Here's the thing. We, as a podcast, are not the cancel culture type. We don't subscribe to that.
Bingo.
We are big time fans of redemption here. We love it. Redemption is a good thing. You got to have it because here's the thing. I'm not perfect at all. And Kirk, I think you're perfect, but you're probably not.
I'm not.
So here's the thing. When I mess up, I would like a shot at redemption. You know what I'm saying? And some people mess up more than others. Some people are in the limelight. So Shia's going through some rough times. There's no excuse for some of the stuff that is going on there, but we wish him the best. That's all I'll say. Okay. Let's dive in. I digress. Pieces of a Woman. I'll synopsis it. I think it's my week to do that. Correct, Kirk?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Pieces of a Woman is a film by
$10 if you get this right. If you direct.
Katja Weber. She's
Okay.
the screenplay, right?
And the director?
No, I can't. Help me out, Kirk. You got it.
Cornel Mundrusco. Or no, that's not right.
That was pretty good. That sounded good.
Mundrusco.
Hold on. Let me help you out here. Let's make sure we get this right. I mean, we will never get it right, but let's at least give it a good honest try.
What if like half of these syllables are like silent? Like
Mundruxo is the last name.
You have to say it with like a snarl.
Yeah, I struggle with that.
He's from Hungary.
He's from Hungary, and the basic premise of this movie is it is loosely based on true events from our screenplay writer, Katja Weber, and her husband, who is her ex-husband, who's the director. Right? And wow, you got to stop saying that. And their experience with a traumatic home birth tragedy. So the movie starts with this home birth. Within the first 10 minutes, there's this home birth. Something bad happens. The rest of the movie is telling us the aftermath of that and how everyone's life who is involved or adjacently touching that was affected. And so that's the general thesis of the movie. Anything to add there, Kirk?
Nailed it.
Okay, so Vanessa Kirby is our leading lady who is pregnant and goes through the home birth, and Shia is her husband.
Yes.
Got it? Okay. So let's jump in to this movie. We'll have a lot to discuss, no doubt. It's an interesting one. There's plenty to talk about. Let's start with our Oscar. And the Oscar goes to you. This one to me is a no-brainer. I'm going to put you on the hot seat. I would be floored if you went with anybody else but Vanessa Kirby. This leading lady, she's really been flexing her muscles lately. She's been in only a couple of films, but she was in The Crown. She's brilliant in that show. She was in Mission Impossible in a very limited role, but she's really starting to pick up some roles now, and I couldn't be happier for her because she is just deserving. She is an incredible actor with great ability. She obviously puts a lot of thought and care and work into her craft. She has to play a woman in this film who has gone through debatably the most devastating thing that a woman can experience, or that any, parent can experience, which is the loss of a child during the birthing process. Devastating, or really at any point, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And to convey that is something that you could tell that she did not take lightly, and something that she made very real in her life. Like it just felt like she was bearing that burden of, like, she was feeling the weight. And maybe it's because the director and the screenplay writer were right there on set talking her through this, giving her, like, here's what we went through, here's how everything goes. But her acting was just on point. Like, grief is insanely hard to understand. People grieve in different ways, and I can only imagine, because it's hard to understand, that it's super hard to convey. But she nailed it, and every scene was like a masterclass from Vanessa Kirby. Like, from the drop of the hat, she was just killing it all the way to the very end. She was a marvel to watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So it had to be Vanessa Kirby.
Yes, you nailed it. There is no egg on my face. I absolutely picked Vanessa Kirby as the Oscar goes to as well. It's funny because I was, the promos for this film are so heartbreaking and vulnerable, and you're like, this has to be good. She has to be good. And I kind of gave up on The Crown, admittedly. I stopped like halfway through season 1, which she is in, and she's gotten, lots of good press on being Princess Margaret in that. And honestly, like, she's good, but she didn't like blow my hair back, like, whatever in that show. But man, beat 1 in this is captivating from her. There is not a moment, there is not a scene where she is not spot on. She's spot on the whole time. So definitely going to be nominated at the Academy Awards, because regardless of anyone else in this cast, she stood apart, and she deserves it. She did her homework, and she really, really, really went for the gold here. So bravo, Vanessa.
Yeah, good call. Nothing but good things to say about that performance. It's truly great, and I think you're right. I mean, I think there's a good chance we see her nominated, and I think that even in a normal year, she would be competitive in that category because it really is that good of a performance. Okay, let's move into Scene Stealer. Interesting supporting cast in this movie. Some interesting casting decisions, I would say, just in general. But for me, I'm going with our guy Shia, who plays the husband in this movie. I think he has the reason he's Scene Stealer for me is that he has the scenes where he's with Vanessa Kirby, he slays. I think this is just kind of right within his wheelhouse. Like, he's very much a method actor. He's really can excel at hyper intimate roles, and I know no better way than to describe this movie as hyper intimate, uncomfortably so, if we're being honest. So this was, in a lot of ways, I think he was one of the best actors for this job. He made the relationship between them feel real. I think there were times where it was like he was in scenes with other people where it was like, that could have been better, but I think that was partly the writing and partly Shia, maybe. I don't know. But him and Vanessa Kirby were electric, and I really enjoyed those scenes with them together.
Yeah. Also Shia. This is the same scorecard. Also Shia as Scene Stealer here. He, I haven't seen too many films that were, kind of set in present day reality since like, I don't know, Disturbia. I don't know if that was present day or not, because we've had him in lots of other great
maybe
roles.
Like, what about Peanut Butter Falcon? Is that present day?
That is present day. I don't know what I'm thinking. This role, I don't know, like Peanut Butter Falcon, which I loved, and I loved him in. This one, it just seemed like he's the working class guy. In Peanut Butter Falcon, he was a working class guy, but like way in the South. Not to put any kind of in the sticks. It was different. So like seeing him as this guy, where are they? They're in Pennsylvania or New York or whatever. Wherever they're at. It just seemed very.
Where are they? Massachusetts, Boston.
Boston. It just seemed very, very present, very relevant. So I was a little worried in this first couple scenes. I'm like, how is he gonna like do his thing in here? And he perfectly interwove this really full character surrounding his support for his wife in everything that they were going through. There's a moment where he's like screaming, but like also restricting. One of the most powerful things you can do as an actor is not give it all away at certain points, and where he's like screaming, wanting to cry, wanting to fall apart, and then he pulls it back in. And I just thought that was fantastic. The role itself, I don't think is big enough to garner any kind of actual Academy request. Maybe not. I don't think it is, but still, nonetheless, I was glued to him when he was on screen, as always.
Yeah, I agree. We might end up having similar scorecards here, Kirk. I don't know. It's looking that way, so we'll see what happens. Let's go into Showstopper. For me, the Showstopper, there is a scene at the beginning of this movie that is the birthing scene, and it is a scene with no cuts. It's filmed continuously, and it kind of moves around the house, and I just loved the way that the camera work captured the liveliness of the house. Like that specifically, even within that scene, which was the best scene in the movie, but the way that the camera was used in that way was totally different than the way it was used the rest of the movie, and I assume that was intentional, and I think it really felt like you were the observer watching this go down, which was a really interesting point of view. And it was done so in a very, very thoughtful way, kind of like paying attention to things that you would naturally pay attention to, even though they're not relevant to what's happening from time to time, and like moving around quickly depending on the mood or slowly depending on what's happening. It was just like, they clearly thought about that. In fact, I think it almost would have worked better, this movie, as a short film with just that scene. It was almost like that's how they designed it, and then they were like, let's make this a bigger film. I don't know if that's true or not, but I could totally see that being the case.
Yeah. Excellent. Mine is completely different from yours. Mine is the first 30 minutes of this movie, there is a labor scene, and they weave in and out of the house, and you
No way.
like you're an observer of what's happening in a very thoughtful way. It's the same. It's
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Dead
oh
serious.
my.
Yeah. One cool thing about two things. The first cool thing is that this labor scene took 2 days to film, and they did it in 6 takes. 6.
That's pretty awesome.
Wow.
That's impressive.
It very much so is. And the other thing is as Vanessa Kirby is going into labor, if you have children, she hits points of labor that, like there's all this gas, so she's like burping all the time throughout it. And she's kind of delirious in one moment, and the very next she's like tanking in extreme pain and like holding her husband, loving on him, and then like pushing him away. Like she captured that so well. And what I found is that Vanessa Kirby has not had any children yet. She actually went and shadowed as like a nurse or like a midwife, and actually got to witness one birth. One mother said, "Sure, you're Vanessa Kirby, go for it," So
wow.
Bravo to get to do her homework in such a cool, exciting way for such a movie.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. And it was, like I said, it was very intimate. It was uncomfortably intimate. It was very real. And that scene is, like I said, I think that scene could be the movie, to be quite honest, which sort of brings me into director's shoes, which is, for me, a pretty big whopper, if I can be quite honest. Like, this movie struggled hard with storytelling. I think it's unclear what they're trying to get across here. They throw out a couple of different themes that some are followed through, some are stumbled through, and some just never really make it off the tarmac. It's just like they've got their feet in a lot of different things, and just things that happen throughout the story, and then the way that it ends just doesn't line up. You're sitting there, at least for me, I'm watching this whole movie going, okay, this is going to be a portrait pick. It's going to be about basically, it's not going to be overly theme heavy, maybe some themes here or there, but it's going to be about grief and what grief can do to a couple and what this scenario could potentially do and did do in these people's lives. But it wasn't. Like, they were actually trying to tell a story with deep themes that has like a nice clean resolution, and they end up serving up some of these story plot points in a very strange, clunky, unorganized way. Like, you have characters that are super important, just leave, gone, never spoken of again. You're like, huh? You have this mother figure to Vanessa Kirby who like randomly pours her heart out to her in a scene that's just all around bizarre. And then you've got the ending where they try to tie it all together, but you're like, wait, that doesn't seem right, and I don't care about that, and this is weird. Like, without spoiling it, it's just really hard to understand what the thought process was from a storytelling perspective. I really think, and maybe the answer is this. It's based on true events, so maybe it just really was that weird and sloppy, like real life can be, and so they tried to like give it some sort of nice Hollywood ending or something. I don't really know, but I think this would have done far better as a portrait pick, where they say, here's the inciting incident. And what I mean by portrait pick, sorry, I use that all the time, but basically just like a movie that doesn't have any sort of real linear end-to-end plot. A movie that's just like, here is a thing that happened. This is like your view into it, and then it's over. Good like the Coen brothers do this from time to time. Inside Llewyn Davis, if anybody's seen that movie, is a good example of this. These are the kinds of movies that drive my wife crazy. She's like, nothing happened, But I just think that Portrait Pick was the better route. Here's the inciting incident. Here's how these people's lives were affected. Grief is crazy. The end. Over. That's what I think they should have done, and that's not what we got.
Nope. Yeah, this is the same. This is pretty much the same. Like in like in Pitch Perfect, I know all of our fans are Pitch Perfect fans because every human being is a Pitch Perfect fan, at least for the first
deep down.
film.
Even if they haven't seen it, when they do, they will love it.
You are a future Pitch Perfect fan at that point. You're incubating. In Pitch Perfect, they do this weird love triangle thing between Anna Kendrick's character, Skylar Astin's character, and the guy who runs the school's radio station. And there's this weird thing between obviously Anna Kendrick, Skylar Astin are supposed to be in love. That's clear. They both work at this record store. That's established in the first 10 minutes that they reference 2 other times, which is just kind of like off the cuff, whatever. But there's this weird rivalry between the DJ guy who runs the station and Skylar Astin, the intended boyfriend.
Yep.
And you don't understand where some of it comes from until you watch the deleted scenes from the extra content, either on the DVD or on digital. That's what it feels like. That's what this movie feels like. That there are some crucial deleted scenes from this film that didn't work out, or they were going to extend the film far too much that would distract from Vanessa Kirby's role, possibly. There are deleted scenes that we haven't seen that would fill in all these holes about why does this person hate this person and why do they love this person when it should be flip-flopped, and why isn't she screaming at her, or why isn't she hugging him or hugging her, or it doesn't make any sense. And I think those dots and those lines are crossed and just missing from the final cut of the film.
Yeah, it's interesting. It truly, I think, even some of the plot points that seem misplaced during the movie, you're almost able to overlook until the end, and then at the end you're like, okay, well that just like, I don't like any of that. I mean, it's like you can see what they're trying to do, and you like the general message they were trying to achieve, but the way that they try to achieve it is just nonsensical.
There was another route, and it didn't totally miss the landing, but there was a stronger option, I feel like.
I agree. Okay, so sorry. I wish, we do these spoiler-free reviews, and actually, like, Kirk and I have recently been talking about whether or not we should continue to do that. So maybe we'll raise that for discussion, because I feel like we could deep dive more here if we took the bars off, but that's okay. We want to make sure that you guys have a chance to see this movie and form your own opinions while also being able to listen to ours. So we'll go spoiler free. I won't spoil anything, but let's go with overall thoughts. I think for me, man, I wanted to love this movie. I did. And there's a lot to love, frankly. I think that generally speaking, it's well shot. I think the production design is solid. I think, the characters they build, especially our two leads, are really strong and well acted, but the story for me just kind of bungles the whole thing. It just really makes it hard to figure out how I feel about this movie. I got done and I was like, man, I even struggled coming up with a score for it, but I think where I'm landing is that the story just doesn't get you there. Like, it just doesn't get you to where you need to go to really feel like there was merit to watching this. I think that first scene with the first 30 minutes with the birth before they roll pieces of a woman on screen, like, ultra powerful, crazy good filmmaking. Loved every bit of it. Mm-hmm. Really well acted. Like, all of that's good. But beyond that, it's like, man, I should have just shut it off there and made up my mind about what happened to them, because I think it might have been a better story, or at least a more logical one. So, man, I'm still going back and forth. I'm giving it a 5.6 out of 10. So that's where I'm at, because the story just lost me. It just lost me.
Okay. I think that Cornell Mundruxku would be a little disappointed in your score.
That's fair.
The director, he would be very upset. But who cares? Who cares, Cam? He's in Hungary, and we're in
He
Southern
can't get
Illinois.
to me. He has
He'll
no
never
idea.
find you.
Never.
I would say I'm going to give this one a little bit more grace, only because I am a sucker, an absolute sucker for phenomenal acting, and Vanessa,
Well, sure, yeah.
Kirby, and Shia LaBeouf. They won me over. They won me over. Also, shout out to the mom. I don't know how I overlooked this. The mom, Ellen Burstyn. She's the mom in The Exorcist. She's the crazy old lady in Requiem for a Dream. She's in The Last Picture Show. She is, Hollywood royalty fame, basically. So she's in this movie. So if you like movies and you want to see her in this, come watch it. Anyways, I think that this movie was very moving, despite the plot holes. I could connect the dots, even though it made me mad. I hope I get deleted scenes on Netflix someday. I'm going to give this a 7.4 out of 10.
Okay. I think that's fair. And yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like, even though we were really similar on things that we liked and didn't like, I think there's just like, it shows you, like, there are things that are more important to some people in a movie than others, and that's totally fine. And that's what we promote. We want different opinions. We want to chat through it and talk through everything. Last thing, while we're giving shout outs, Molly Parker, who plays Eva, who's the midwife. I thought she was great. I really wanted to give her Scene Stealer, just because she was in a lot of ways the true definition of a scene stealer, in the sense that she got very limited screen time and had an underrated role and did a great job with it. But I had to give it to Shia because he did such a fantastic job as well. But her, you know what she nailed, dude, was the bedside manner that doctors and nurses have. She, like, comes in the very first scene, and she, like, rolls up her sleeves and kind of, like, shakes her wrist, and she's like, "How you doing? How's everything going?" And I was just like, yes, like, understated, but money, you get it, and you're working. I loved it. I loved it. So she's my scene stealer number 2 there. I thought she was great.
Yeah, she's also, like, unrecognizable. Like, when I pulled up the cast list after the movie, I'm like, wait a second, what? Your girl Molly Parker was in Game of Thrones, or not Game of Thrones, in House of Cards for like 25 episodes.
She was Jackie. Yeah,
yes.
she was Jackie, and she killed in that show. She absolutely ate it up, left zero crumbs.
Yes, I believe she was in Deadwood, the series. She was in Netflix's newer version of Lost in Space. Like, she has been in some fantastic pieces of film and TV. So I didn't know it was her with her particular makeup and getup, and so bravo to her. She was great.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that is our review of Pieces of a Woman. Guys, check it out on Netflix. Be warned, it's not for the faint at heart. It's a hard R. Let's just say that. Viewer discretion highly advised, I would say. And just make sure that you have a very mature mindset going into it, because I think, like, it's not for everybody, and that's okay. And so just know your limits and know that there's a very real birth scene. There's lots of language. There's some content. Just know that going in, and go from there. And let us know your opinion. I mean, I want to chat more about this movie. Kirk and I went notch for notch straight down the list and ended up 2 points apart on our score. So that's, this movie is highly interpretive. Lots of different things going on. So lots of good conversation can be had. But you can watch this on Netflix. And we expect to see some award time buzz for our acting leading lady, Vanessa Kirby, who did a fantastic job. So be sure to check it out ahead of the awards. And normally, this is the point of the show where we would go into Schoolyard Pick, but we're not going to do that this week. We are going to leave you at that. Kirk, you got anything else to add, my friend?
Yeah, it's just weird. It's weird to leave you early.
I know. Very odd.
I mean, maybe we'll just text for an hour after this. I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
That's fine. I mean, I got to do post-production, and you got to type a description for this episode, but...
I do? Okay. All right.
We can check. Yeah, I just decided that for you. So
All right,
there
cool.
you go.
I got you.
But yeah, we'll let you guys go. Just a reminder, we'll be back again next week with a new episode. What are we reviewing? One Night in Miami, Kirk? I mean, I think Outside the Wire's off the table because we already spoiled the crap out of that and tanked it. I don't know. What was the other one we were going to watch? No, One Night in Miami. That was the one we were going to watch.
Yes.
So I think that's the leader in the clubhouse. If you have thoughts on a movie we should review, hit us up. We're open to whatevs.
Also, there's a fan out there who has like a free... they get to pick whatever movie they want, and they've not pulled their card yet. I know.
It will happen. It will happen when we least expect it, and they'll probably pick the Emoji Movie, and then we'll just die.
Emoji 4.
Dude, I've seen that movie. Let me tell you, that's an abomination of nature. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. Actually, let me leave you with this. If you really want to see a truly awful movie, go on Netflix right now, or whenever it's convenient for you, and type in Baby Shark space. What is it? Hold on. I mean, I think Baby Shark space will get there for you, but let me make sure that way you guys can find this. Baby Shark space adventure. I should have known that.
Oh,
Baby Shark space adventure. It is truly miserable. We watched it with our son. Unfortunately, Marshall, he was all about it. And it's basically like one of those shows, in sitcoms on like the 100th episode when they're like, remember that time we did this? And then they show a clip. It's like basically a thinly veiled clip show of different Baby Shark Pink Fong songs and a plot that is just so garbage that you will be floored. And it's like dubbed in English. So it was like originally recorded in Japanese or something like that. It's god awful. So if you just really like to torture yourself or your family, that's where you should go. Look no further than Baby Shark Space Adventure, available exclusively on Netflix.
I'm going to edit you. I think it's 65 minutes of pure joy, Cam.
Dude, it's mercifully 65 minutes. Thank God it's not an hour 30. Any more than 65 minutes, and it breaks the Geneva Convention for like human rights violations at that point. Yes. I honestly believe it does. So keep that in mind. We'll leave you guys with that thought. So I want to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Mr. Ryan Spriggs, and of course to Rhetoric. Enjoy a brand new mix of our outro as you listen to the end of this episode, and we will see you guys next week.
Talk to you then.